recording this meeting, so if you don't want to be recorded, you can also you can leave the meeting now, I guess. All right, so let me start presenting. And let me uncover all of my windows that I have here. All right. Please, in the chat room, somebody tell me if you can see the PowerPoints. Okay, good to go. Nice data chats also be this makes QA more engaging sometimes. And yeah, the chats are in there. Yes. All right. Okay. Welcome everybody. If you have any questions, just unmute yourself and ask away. Last time we talked about Chapter 3, some of the game frameworks. We released Assignment 1, GitLab, and the Rieka sign-up assignment. I know it seems like kind of rather harsh about the late assignment policy on this, but I want everyone to get up to speed on this. It's not that hard to sign up for a website. That's all this is, basically asking you to do. But it's important that we use this website because all of our work is going to be turned in via that. All right. We talked about Chapter 2 before. I wanted to remind you guys to do the reading, actually go and brush up on this stuff. We talked about the elemental tetrad. That's this picture that we have up on the screen here right now. And this basically is the model that the author uses for his framework, which is called the layered tetrad, which is this here, but he turns it on its side, and what he does is he talks about the game at various different states of being played, if you will. And it starts out with the inscribed layer. This is the same as Jesse Schell's elemental tetrad. You have your aesthetics, your mechanics, your narrative, and your technology, but this is the game at rest, basically. And then when you add players, you have the dynamic layer come into play. And that's when the game starts getting interesting, starts getting fun. You have emergent behavior, emergent phenomena that happens. You can make simple changes to your rules, and they have a big effect on the game. And that's what we like about playing the game and stuff. But then he also points out there's another layer. There's a layer beyond that one that's outside of the game that he calls a cultural level. And this is like when society starts getting involved in the game and the game dynamics of it, if you will, or the game phenomena, not just the dynamics of it. This is like the larger way that the game is perceived by our society as a whole. And it's at odds with the way that the gaming community is perceiving the game as we play it. We as gamers and players have one notion of what is right and wrong inside of the game. And it makes sense when you're inside that magic circle that Shell talks about, where you're playing the game and you're inside the game world. It makes perfect sense to do some of the weird stuff in GTA, like jump off a building with just a backpack or parachute on. But it makes no sense to society to do that outside. So that's where we get that phenomenon where I asked if you would admit that you play GTA, and most of us did. And then I asked if the same question, would you admit in a job interview if you would play GTA? Will asks, is it players versus normal people? It's just players versus non-players, people who don't have a direct experience with the game itself. Maybe they just haven't played that game and they don't understand some of the nuances inside of the game. But I would tend to think that people who play games on a regular basis could extrapolate and become part of the community without even playing the game, if they've been playing since their childhood or something like that. But yeah, it's society at large. And there's a lot of interesting phenomena that happens up there. And like I said, I'll be so proud of you guys when you make a game that makes it to the cultural layer and people are starting to talk about it at that point. I look forward to that someday. I do want you to remember that. If you have questions, I'd be happy to chat with you about it. It's interesting stuff. It's a great tool for analyzing, different games and, not just games, but any kind of interactive experience, as the author says. Okay, assignment 1. Has anybody had issues with assignment 1? Has anyone not registered? Adolfo, please go register now. SMTP email is not working on this at the moment. There's a bug in the software, so I'm manually approving your accounts. I've gone through, and last night I stayed up late approving a whole bunch of accounts from the other section of the class, and just before this class I approved a bunch of people. I'll do the same again tonight. After my last class, I'll restart another meeting and office hours. You guys can hit me up then and ask me if you have questions at that point. I'll send out a Blackboard announcement regarding that. But this is pretty simple, and I do want to make sure that you guys are aware of the assignments and the way that I do assignments. So let me pull that up right now. Can you see the Blackboard screen that I have up on there? Okay, whenever I post an assignment, I usually copy paste like the top half of the assignment, and but I always include a link to the full version of it, the PDF on it. So make sure you click on the PDF and get the full thing in there. There's a couple extra steps that weren't captured in that screenshot that's up there. And yes, it's as simple as that. Bashir asked, I just submitted 2 pictures. Is that all I have to do? Yes, this is an easy one. I'm giving you guys 100 points for doing this. I want to make sure that you all have an account on the right thing. If you don't have an account on the right thing, and I see like something like GitHub or some other Git service out on the web, when I go to grade your assignment, I'll see that it's wrong, and you'll know that you're posting your stuff to the wrong place. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. All right, moving on. All right, so tonight what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about the Unity editor and project organization inside of the Unity editor. By now, most of you have all installed Unity, and you have Unity Hub in there. Has anyone not installed Unity? So we need to submit both the activation page and really just a repo, and I've allowed for multiple assignments. I hope that's true. Believe I did. So you can you can upload a couple more if you think you've taken a picture of the wrong thing. But I basically want to see that you can get into your project or your account on Rieka, and you do that because that's how you're going to turn in your homework. All right. I was in the process of preparing these slides beforehand. When I logged into Zoom early and I noticed it wasn't working, I started to freak out. But I will try to update these slides for you guys probably Friday or Saturday during the day sometime. The slides that are on Blackboard are just a little bit out of sync with what you're seeing here on the screen right now. Okay. So moving on. Okay. So there's a couple things that I want you to do when you're creating Unity projects for cs583. So this is kind of important. Have one location on your file system that you put all of your stuff. Now, many of you already do this. You don't get to this level in computer science without having some skills at being able to organize your files on your file system. However, I notice over the years, I've seen students who still kind of have some what I call not so great practices. And I want to make sure that you guys are not doing that for a variety of different reasons. Okay, so what I suggest is that you have some sort of um, folder structure that you have for yourself. Here, I'm going to share my computer and show you kind of what I have. This is a fairly recent rebuild of my computer. Over the summer, I got a new solid state drive, and I wiped the old stuff out and put in the new stuff. So this is actually fairly clean for me. Normally, I have a lot of stuff. The big important thing is I have a projects folder that I keep that is not in the desktop, and it is not in the documents or the My Documents directory. So I know many people sometimes like to just have stuff on the desktop. It's great. You log in, you click on your icon, and away you go. That's great. But the desktop thing and the My Desktop or the documents and the My Documents folders, especially on the Windows system. It used to be a little bit worse on the Macs OS. They seem to get a little bit better. They have special permissions on those folders, and you can't always do some of the high or the special developer stuff that we are going to be doing over the course of the next 2 semesters on these folders. In particular, they try to protect you from some of the nasty stuff like running code that may not be from a signed source or a reliable source. But in this case, it's going to be code that we wrote. We know we did it and we want to run it. So we don't want to have those permissions interfere with our ability to develop code. And the best way to do that is just to move it someplace else. So I recommend a projects directory, and then inside of there, I organize mostly according to what the project is. So you can see my current class is here. My past classes are also here. I've got some of the other stuff that I organize there. And then within these folders, I have things going in a chronological order usually. And in each of my different things, I have stuff that goes on in there. I also have this up directory. I call it my Unity projects directory. And so these are the projects that I work on over time that spans across several different semesters. So I've been throwing stuff inside of here. And on my previous hard drive, I used to have a ton of stuff inside of here. And I had a lot of different libraries and artwork that I did that I put inside of there. But basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to come up with a structure like this. And we're going to be using the Unity Hub to store our projects and stuff. Does anyone have any question? Matthew, what, you don't like my organized? It's always interesting to see somebody else's folder organization. And please, if you've got a better way of organizing stuff, I'm all ears. Let me know. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, hopefully this will help you have a little bit more. I had a friend that used to do that as well. And I was asking him, well, what do you do when you run out of space? And his solution was, I'll just buy a bigger hard drive and shove everything into there. And that's great, but it doesn't really help you find things or keep things going for a while after, for long-term sustainability. It doesn't do that. Also, this helps with portability and backup. So I have an external honking hard drive that I hook this stuff up to once a week. When I plug it into the USB thing, it's been configured that it takes everything in the _ projects directory and does a differential backup. So whatever is new, it it puts onto my external hard drive. And that's the best way to protect yourself from cybersecurity stuff. Like if there's any kind of ransomware or something that you get hit with, you'll be able to wipe out your OS, reinstall it, and then install copy your backups back on there, and you'll have your projects and stuff that you need to do. Okay, so all right. Also, a reminder here: don't use special characters. I was really adamant about that with you guys. I didn't stress it enough on the last class, and a couple people use periods in their Rieka names. That's not that bad, but I'm talking about like special funky characters. Especially if you're going with extended characters that do kind of crazy emoji things. Stay away from those. So for all of our projects, we're going to be using the format that I have up here on the screen, cs583 fall 2020, then underscore last name, underscore first name, underscore project, and underscore 123, or however many projects you end up having in there. If you have to like restart one of your projects or something like that, I will allow you to call it like project 1A, 1B. Hopefully you shouldn't have to go into double letters or stuff like that. But I'll allow for that. Basically, I have scripts that go through and scrape and clone your projects onto machines based on the strings that are in the front of there. So I have a list of students' last names and first names. And if your first name is different from your registered name, that's okay too. What'll happen is I'll see that you didn't submit something with your first name, and then I'll go look for your last name, and I'll realize that you have a different spelling or a different, entirely different first name, and I'll adjust for that. But if you can please follow the format that's up there, that would be great. Questions, anything so far? Everybody's good to go? All right. I'm going to close that project and get to it at another time. And now I'm going to start on the demo part of it. So let me just minimize some of these windows. I think I'll leave that, and I'll just dock this one back down here so that I have it in case I need it. All right. So now I'm going to go here, and I'm going to type in Unity Hub, and I'm going to start using Unity. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say New Project. Okay, now I've already installed a variety of different versions of it. I think I'm sticking with 2019.410 F1. This is the long-term solution to it. As you see up on the screen, I have quite a few different versions of the projects. Don't sweat it too much if you don't get the exact same version that I have here. The grader and I will probably have a version that's compatible or greater than what you have. But you should at least have the long-term solution installed on your system. I showed you how to do that in a previous lecture, so you can go look at that. And I'm going to just say New Project over here. And this pops open this new project directory down here. And it doesn't matter if you select 2D, 3D, either one of these is fine. You can easily convert one to another. The editor gets set up in a slightly different way between the 2D and the 3D version of it. And if you add like 3D with extras or high definition or a lightweight render pipeline template one, you'll have a bunch of stuff that will make your game do different things and look slightly different. But you basically don't want to do that. Just stick with 2D and 3D for now. Okay, so now the project name needs to match your folder that you have it in, and that all needs to match the project name on Rieka. So basically, all three of these names have to be in alignment. And it used to be that you would have to create your folder in there, but Unity now does this. So I'm going to do follow the format 583 and underscore price, the formal name. This is going to be project underscore one, and I'm going to call it the Wednesday demo, just so I can have it in there. The location, pick anywhere that is not your desktop and not your documents. So none of these folders over here. Pick somewhere inside of here, and I'm going to use my my Unity projects up directory here, just for that. Or the other choice that I would consider using is my 583 class, and put it inside of there. Either one of those is a good choice. So I'm going to select that folder, and I'm going to hit create, and it's going to give me the screens that are down here. Probably should be sharing my lower screen instead of my upper screen. And let me check the chat room. Anybody have questions about this so far? Kyle, you're getting an error. What kind of error are you getting? License is invalid. Okay, so you need to make sure you have a valid license. Let me pull up my Unity Hub, which is still running somewhere in the background, but we'll do that here. Now, one of the things you have to do to download Unity, or one of the things you should do to download Unity, is you should register for a Unity account. Okay, should we include the in the name? Yeah. Did I not include that? Oh, I'm already not following my guides. Yep. Okay. So yeah, I'll just redo it. No problem. So under here, you might have like an icon that's not visible in there. You need to register for a license that way. Does that make sense?
So should I click on manage license? I still see the drop down.
Yeah, click on manage license, and you should see like activate new license.
Oh yeah, I see it.
And you should have the free one. It should give you choices for like a pro or a plus. Those are the paid for ones. You should be just fine with the community edition version of this.
The personal one?
Personal's fine.
And should I say I don't use it in a professional? Yeah, that's right.
You do not. You do not use it in a professional way. This is part of an educational class. If their limit is 100,000 grand, if your game makes over 100,000 grand, tell me. I would be so proud of you.
Okay, thanks. That fixed it. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Somebody else may have had the same question. No worries. So I already messed up. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close that and do it right. Follow my own directions. How about that? So new. I've already selected in there. So this is going to be cs583, and sure I have the right window open so I can see in there fall 2020, and then last name. Okay, so fall 2020 and underscore correct underscore price. Let's do that.
Professor, you wrote 853.
853? Yeah, I did. It's not easy doing this, typing and looking. You're now in a graduate level course. This is the Wednesday class. All right, so it's churning and burning down on my other screen. And it'll pop up the Unity editor. And I want to talk and point out a couple features of the Unity editor as it's going through. First and foremost, the Unity editor is a full-blown application, and it's like a very sophisticated IDE, like Visual Studio or Eclipse, or anything from JetBrains that they have in there. And so this is like the original or the default layout that you have in there. And the thing to know is there's all these different parts of it. But first and foremost, you need to know that you're in a tabbed windowed environment, meaning that each of these things here, it's a little difficult to see on the black on black dark theme that I have here. These are different tabs, and they're tabbed windows, meaning that I can just grab one and pull it off and dock it in a variety of different ways. I'm just going to drag it down here, and you can see I've got this game window over here that represents my game when I start playing stuff. Okay, you may have had a little bit of experience with this, but you can do that, and you can like split screen. So like if you want to see like your editor window and your game at the same time and the inspector stuff, you can do that. If you get your screen in some sort of weird funky thing and you have like an animation window over here and all this crazy stuff, you can always go to this last button over here and then go back to the default screen, and it'll take you back to here. Likewise, if you set up your window and you have it in some sort of configuration where it's exactly perfect like this. This is the way you always want it to be. You can go and save the layout so that your layout will be there in the drop-down menu, and then you can do stuff with it in there. So that's the first thing. Let me move this window so I can see if there's any questions on there. Okay, the folder wasn't the same as the file name. Should I restart? Yes, you should restart. Asking me if I want to update to the current version. So is that Unity Hub that wants to start to the current version? There is a difference between Unity Hub and Unity, the IDE.
It's the IDE that's asking it to me, the editor.
The editor, yeah. So there's a thing that asks you to check for the latest. And this is, you don't need to do that. You should manage the version of the editors inside of the Unity Hub as you're going through in there. So let me just pull that up once again. And so Unity Hub is like a package. I don't want to use package manager. It's like a distro manager for Unity IDEs. And you can have different versions of the IDE running. So it's like having like Ubuntu 20, Ubuntu 18, or Ubuntu 16 on your computer. You may have a product that runs in Ubuntu 16 that you've been assigned to support, and so you have to run it in that older version of it, but you might be doing development in a newer version. And the same is for Unity. Generally, we pick a version to release the game under, and that's what we stick with because that we know it's stable, and if there's any bugs and stuff, we can follow that distribution inside of the Unity channels, so we know like what's going on with that as we release our game. As we develop new games, we'll take we'll go for the newer stuff to see what's in there. Always read the release notes for whatever product that you're using. It's full of useful information. The developers usually put a lot of work inside of those things, so you should. Okay, so hopefully, Robin, you're up to speed now with that. So here we are in the editor, and the next thing I want to point out is this project area down here. This is Unity's representation of your folder, your project, what's on the file system, as interpreted by Unity itself. So this is a representation of the file system. It is not actually the file system that is on there. And that's a big thing to understand right there. So if you right click on this topmost level here that says assets, and I'll try to zoom in a little bit. I don't think I can zoom on this. If you right click on it, you get a context menu with a whole bunch of Unity stuff inside of there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say show in Explorer, right? And so what this will do is this will pop open your file system. If you're on a Mac, this will pop open the Finder. Same thing. This is exactly what Unity thinks you have inside of there. And so as you see, I've got my Unity projects directory. It's created the game inside of there in the folder, and I can see it at this level. So this is the file folder name that you need. Now it is at this level that you need to initialize the Git repository at. This is the root of your directory. This is the root of your repository, right? Now there's more than one way to initialize a directory inside of a folder. And what you can do here, I've installed the Git Bash utilities on this system. So I can say Git GUI here, and I can say Git Bash here. I can also use like Visual Studio Code. I could use Visual Studio Community. If you have like the Git desktop from Atlassian or SourceTree, you can use that. You can use Git Kraken. There's more than one way to do this at this point. Now, I'm going to say Git Bash here just so I can show you the commands and all of that. And when I do that, basically, it pops open this window here that I've got the command line stuff inside of here. And in here I can type ls, ls minus la, and I can see my stuff inside of there. Okay. Can you go back to Unity Hub and click the drop-down menu to the right of new and click 20? Yeah, hold on a second. So here's Unity Hub, and the drop-down menu, click new. So in the project area here. Yeah, so that's one thing to know. When you're looking at the list of projects inside of Unity Hub, you have the option to use whatever version that you have installed on your system. And so like when I download your code, Unity doesn't know per se which version of Unity it was built with. And there'll be a blank inside of there actually. Basically what I have to do is select which version of it. Now, one thing that you need to pay particular attention to, you can always select a newer version than what it was created with, and Unity will do the correct thing and update your files as it goes along. But if you go to a previous version of it, Unity will not know how or Unity will give you inconsistent results when you do that. It may not be able to go back to an earlier version of it, depending on if it was like an alpha build or some beta product or something like that. So you can always go forward to a larger number of Unity, but in general, avoid going to a previous or an older version of Unity. And this is one of the features of it. You can also change your target platform. So if you want to make this a WebGL build, boom, you can do that right there. And then there's a couple other things that you can do in there. You can remove it, advanced project settings, or pull up the folder for it. Okay. All right. Okay, so moving on. So here we have our Unity editor. I see the assets folder inside of there, what Unity thinks is the assets. Here I have the file system that represents what's actually in there. And then I've got a command window here that I'm going to be running something in. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just type the word, the command git inside of there to make sure that everything's all hooked up and everything looks like it's fine. It's giving me the usage and the help for git. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there that it's trying to tell me that I could do, excuse me, at this point. Okay. So the other command that you can do is git status, and that'll tell you, hey, there's a fatal error here. This is not working. This is not a Git repository or any of the parent directories that it's in. So it's like trying to tell you, like, hey, this folder, this directory on your hard drive is not under version control. You need to initialize it under version control. So in order to do that, you can type git and then init. And I want you to notice the window over here just to the left, what happens when I run this command. So when I do that, boom, it added this other folder right here, this hidden directory on the .git file. And this is the directory that says that this folder on your file system is under version control. And so you should be able to see that. If you can't see that when you're doing it, you may not have your views set up to show hidden files, hidden items over here, file names and extensions. The Mac does this, does not show this by default. You actually have to go to the command line and you have to type ls-l for long listing and then A for all to see all of the files that are in there. If you type ls-l without anything in there, you're not seeing the .git directory that's present inside of there. And furthermore, if you go into Unity and look at it in there, there's nothing inside there. It's just like, hey, all is good. So you need to change some things around. And in just a few moments, we'll talk about linking this project to your Rieka account, which is what you're going to have to do before. And this is why we had you create the blank directory or the blank repository on your Rieka, because it gives you the instructions for how to do that right there on that page. I'm going to say something about what I would do next, but I'm going to also, instead of doing that part, I'm going to save that for a future lecture. I'm going to talk more about the Unity editor and some of the things that are inside of here so that you can see that. The next thing I would do is I would go to my Rieka account and I would create a Rieka account. I would create the Rieka account with the exact same name that I have right here. So I would create a new project with that name. Did I? Yeah, okay, I did that correctly. Someone's asking me on a Mac, how do you do this? I was just showing you, can you explain how to get the terminal on a Mac? Sure. I have like Alfred installed and one of the things, and you basically use the key sequence, the command key and the space key. Will open up a little spotlight window on your Mac. And then inside of that spotlight window, type the word terminal. Or iTerm, and that will launch the iTerm application. That'll give you a terminal window there. Does that help, Samer? And on a Mac, you can initialize the terminal through there. I'm sorry, James was asking how to get the terminal on the Mac, as well as Shari. So do you guys on the Mac have your terminal window? Yeah, get in it for now.
Professor,
Sure.
I think I think I missed this step, but how exactly did you open the command prompt window?
Sure.
Like,
so I installed Git Bash on my system, and I installed it with the option to integrate with the file system. One of the choices in that wizard that you stepped in there. And that adds this Git Bash here thing to my context menu. So when I right mouse click inside of a file explorer window, I get this menu here, and I have these two items added in here with the Git Bash icon. If you don't have these, you can reinstall Git Bash and have it accept File Explorer integration. I believe it's named something like that, and then it will add this context menu to your Windows. Does that answer your question?
yes.
Do you not have that?
No, I do. I just missed you clicking on that. Sorry.
No worries. It happens. Okay. Other questions? Please, hit me up with these questions. If it's important that you guys get this right from the get-go. Right from the get-go. Here you go. All right. Okay. So back to the Unity editor and the stuff that we have inside of here. It's important to organize these files inside of your project properly because it'll help you find things later on. And if you're going to be doing development with other people, it's better to do that. I usually create a couple folders right here. So I right-clicked on the asset word there, and I'm going to select folder, and I'm going to create something called scripts. And just like that, I've created a folder called scripts. Now, just to show you guys, I'm going to go over here, and underneath the assets folder inside of there, now you see scripts. But wait a minute, you also see a couple other things inside of here. You see the scripts.meta and the scenes.meta. The scenes folder was already there. Now, this is the difference between Unity inside of the editor and the file system outside of the editor. Inside the editor, you just see one file, and it doesn't matter what you create. I just created a directory. If you create like an image, if you create an audio file, whatever you drag into this folder here, Unity will show you one thing, but under the hood, if you will, it'll create two things. So I'm going to go grab a picture just to prove this point a little bit more. So let me go look at a picture. Here's one of my pictures from today. And I am going to drag this into the Unity system. And all I have to do is from the file system, I'm going to just drag it at the top of the asset level. And I probably should create a folder called images. So let's do that. And generally, most of the folders you create, you'll create them in a plural setting. And I'm going to move it from here into images. And there's my thing. I can drag it into my, oh wait, I have to import it, finish importing it. And I'll show you that in just a second. But on the file system, let's go back to where we were looking at that. Inside of here, inside of here, inside of the assets folder, I have my images, scripts, and scenes. So in my images, you see that there are two items inside of there. I've got the original PNG and then this meta file, this meta.png that's inside of there. Unity automatically creates that because inside of this is just a text edit or a text file with a .meta ending. But this is where Unity stores the meta information about your whatever you create. So if you look inside here, it's like a YAML file that has got all the information about this thing. Now Unity creates this hidden GUID marker, and that's what it uses internally to keep track of every asset, every script, every game object you have inside of your Unity editor. And it's fundamentally important that you understand that, so that you have not just the PNG file, but you also have the meta file. Now, some of you may not see this inside of there. I would prefer you guys stay on an LTS version, Bashir. So that's why I picked whatever 19.2.10 or 19.2.1.1F. It's a long-term solution, and yes, it will matter when we turn in our thing. But you can go back. You can install multiple versions of it. So you may not see this inside, or you may not see this depending on how Unity is configured in there. And so the next thing I want you guys to be aware of is if you go under the Edit menu inside of the Unity editor, there's this Project Settings menu item that you can click on, and it opens up another window. And I'll move things around just so that you can focus on that. And I'll probably close code just so you can not be distracted by that. So let me bring back Unity. Okay, so the project settings is how you control most of the stuff that Unity has inside of there. And so we're going to go under Editor, and we're going to look at some of the features that are in there. Now, the slide that I showed in the script, or the image that I showed in the slide a few days ago, didn't have all of those things, but we did talk about version control and then the meta file. So version control, you're going to want to have hidden meta files or visible meta files, and then you want the asset mode, asset serialization mode to be force text. Okay, and when you have this combination, the meta files will not show up inside of your editor, and it's going to ask me to reload for this, but they'll still be there on your file system. And force text, what that does is that creates that text YAML file that I showed you in code just a few seconds ago. Now that's so that your version control system can keep track of that. So make sure you have those set as well. Okay, version control does not show up for me. Are you selected on the editor tab over here? It's near the bottom. Version 2020 has its own tabs. Alexa, thank you for telling me that. Yeah, this is probably why I'm going to probably pick the 2019 long-term solution one for it. Okay, and I think I've run out of time, so I'm going to end on this. If you have any questions on this. Yeah, we've run out of time, so. Okay, I'll show you one other thing. So if you go into Editor and you select Preferences, you'll get the Preferences dialog here. Okay, can everybody see that screen in there? And this is where you select which IDE you want Unity to be hooked up to when you're writing code. You have the choice here of Visual Studio and Visual Studio 2019, the Community Edition. Highly suggest you take a Community Edition like that. And then the other thing I highly suggest that you do is go under Colors, and then under General Plane Mode Tint, I suggest you select that. And I'm trying to get the off-screen window here. It'll open up a dialog thing, and I would select the most obnoxious color you can think of, and then select that, and just say OK, and that'll change the color in here. And what that'll do is later on when you're actually editing your game, it'll change the mode here to be that obnoxious color so that you will understand that you are in play mode versus in editor mode there. So I'm going to leave you on that. Next up, we'll talk more about like hooking this up to GitLab, importing assets. It's really important to understand how you know how to do that. Should we be? Yes, you should be expecting a project soon, but I'll give you more time for doing that. So that's no mystery. Basically, the project that you'll be doing there is implementing your 2D, or you'll be creating a 2D user interface based off of the D&D character generator. And yes, I'm going to break them up. Instead of having one big test, I'm going to break it up into smaller quizzes. All right, that's all I've got for now. I've got to send an announcement to the other class that Zoom isn't working. And I'll see you guys next week. And I'll be hosting office hours around 8:15, 8:30 tonight. So I'll send you some, I'll send another announcement out around that time. Okay. No pop quizzes. I don't like that. I don't do pop quizzes. All right. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.